three secrets that no one likes to talk about in investing. Now, if you've been in the investing community for a while, like myself, and maybe you hang out with some people or like to talk to people in the investing community, this definitely isn't everyone, but to be quite frank, a lot of people in the investing community, at least that I've come across, are, to be quite frank, are honestly kind of pretentious douchebags. And what I mean by that is they oftentimes try to act like they make a lot more money than you. They act like they get higher returns than you. They act like just overall they're really smart and intelligent, when in reality, they're probably pretty average at best, and they probably don't make nearly as much money as they make out to be, and they're probably not as rich and successful as they pretend to be as well. But a lot of these communities, it's kind of like weird, it's kind of uptight. A lot of people don't really know how to talk and communicate correctly about investing. And I'm going to be going over three huge things I think a lot of people don't like to talk about with investing because they probably feel a little bit uncomfortable doing so. But anyways, the very first thing that is like huge that no one ever talks about in the investing community is that you don't actually have to be that smart to be good at investing. And what I mean by that is even Warren Buffett says you don't have to have an IQ to be a successful investor. And I totally agree with that. Now, when I kind of realized this is because oftentimes in real life, in my personal life, and really on YouTube as well, and in the investing communities, a lot of people see I do pretty well with investing, and they ask me if I don't want to get too deep into investing, but I want to put my money away and get decent returns, what should I invest in? And I always say you should invest in an ETF that mirrors the S&P 500 or a major stock market index like that. And they kind of look at me, and I could clearly tell they didn't understand like 6 out of the 7 things I said in that sentence. And even though the main things I said is you should buy an ETF, it should mirror the S&P 500 or a stock market index. And when you break those 3 down, they're really not that complicated, but to someone who knows absolutely nothing about investing, they probably don't know what an ETF is, they probably don't know what the S&P 500 is, and they probably don't know what a stock market index is. So that sentence right there, even though it's kind of basic, it might seem confusing to people who don't know anything about it. And why you don't need a high IQ, and why people who invest, even if they're successful, might not be that smart, is because I personally, truthfully think, and a lot of the best investors out there, if you read the little book Common Sense Investing, it will definitely brings this point down pat. I mean, really, in reality, if you're just the average person, the best way to invest is just simply buy an S&P 500 ETF. But that's not my advice; it's just my opinion, and a lot of other, like John Bogle's opinion as well. But you don't need to be as smart as some people make themselves out to be. I think if you just learn some super basic terminology, you read a few books, you kind of figure it out a little bit, you invest, you diversify your portfolio, you invest in the broader market, I think you're probably going to be more successful than a lot of other people out there. But anyways, once again, just my opinion, you could totally disagree with me. The second thing that no one tells you about investing is actually really fucking hard to beat the S&P 500 and to just beat the stock market as a whole. Now, I'm sure every single person you talk to about investing, they claim to be getting phenomenal returns. They're beating the market every single year, things like that. They're just doing everything perfect. But in reality, they're probably kind of full of it. Like I said before, a lot of people in this community, they're not necessarily as truthful as someone like me. I literally show you guys my returns all the time. I update my portfolio constantly. I show things all the time, but there's very few people out there who do that. Even if you look at some of the larger investing channels on YouTube right now, literally none of them actually show their stock portfolio to you, but they do talk quite a bit about the stock market and investing, so that is kind of interesting to me. I think if you got to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk a little bit. Come on, guys, you got to show the money. You got to show people the money for them to really believe you. But a lot of people aren't actually as good as they make it out to be, or they might just simply focus on stocks that they recommended or said to invest in that did well, while they kind of neglect the ones that they probably bought in that did pretty poorly. Now, not to say that everyone's like this. There's a lot of people out there who aren't like that, but a lot of people truthfully struggle beating the S&P 500, but they just simply won't admit it, and they probably do a lot of things to hide the fact that they're not actually as good at investing, or just get very similar returns to S&P, but are doing quite a bit of work to get there. But there are definitely a lot of people out there. This reminds me, like in college, every single person I go to college with, every single person I'm friends with, they just all have 4.0 GPAs, high 3s, whatever. But in reality, I take classes with these people, like they don't actually all have 4.0 GPAs. It's like that weird area where people are sort of embarrassed if they act like they don't do as well as they should, or they think there's like this weird standard, but in reality, there's really not. But people, tend to kind of make up and make it seem like they maybe doing a lot better than they are. But anyways, the last secret that no one likes to talk about in investing, and I don't think this one's necessarily as big as the first two, but it is very, very important, especially for someone who's jumping right into investing or might be a beginner in investing, is that a lot of news is complete bullshit. Now, I'm sure if you're probably a little bit of an experienced investor, like myself, you probably watch CNBC. I mean, I do watch CNBC. I don't watch that much TV, but oftentimes when I do, I pop on the channel. I think it's like 35 or something like that on mine. And a lot of it's just really like hard news. Like they're just like pushing news towards you. And obviously it's a news channel, but a lot of the content that they're pushing out, and it just isn't them. It's every single channel out there. A lot of the content that they push out is honestly pretty garbage, and in reality probably isn't very relevant or helpful to you. Now, this is like a pretty clear problem that I think a lot of you guys see, but a lot of people don't like to talk about it because sometimes, like, if, I don't know, you're hanging out with a group of people or in the investing community, like I myself have to like keep myself relatively up to date with the news, because if I don't know that something happened and maybe I'm talking about it with someone else, it might be a little bit awkward, and I might even in some cases look a little bit dumb if I don't actually know like up to date current news. So in some aspects, I do think it's somewhat important, but at the same time, like, is, you know, looking at some recent news in a company I'm not invested in and probably never will be, but it's popular and hot right now, is that really helping me as an investor, or is it just kind of trying to keep up with the Joneses in a sense, just trying to, you know what's going on so that you don't look dumb in other situations? But in reality, it's not helping me with investing, and probably in, you know, kind of a waste of time in some cases. A lot of news out there, not all. I mean, I know there's actually some decent channels out there. There's some accounts that I follow on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube that put out decent news that is relevant to me that I do pay attention to. But then again, a lot of it out there, like if you watch CNBC, if you watch like Mad Money, a lot of those shows out there, they give some good tips and tricks. They give some, you know, general advice that might be helpful, or maybe some news relevant to stocks that you invest in. But I mean, it's honestly almost like 90% of the news they put out is just totally irrelevant, and like definitely probably has nothing to do with the stocks you're investing in, and probably has no impact on them. I mean, but like, for example, then again, stock like Apple, if there's like any relevant news that comes out with Apple, it's probably important to you regardless of what you're investing in, because it's the biggest company in the world. But if there's some news about, let's say, General Electrics, you don't invest in General Electrics, it doesn't affect any stocks you're invested in, probably not going to affect the entire stock market as a whole, but it's a stock that's been in the news of late, you know, really the past year or so, quite a bit. But you know, even myself, I've posted videos about General Electrics, but it was a stock I owned in the past. But you know, it probably doesn't concern you very much, but it's really hot because it was like declining like crazy. There was just a lot of things going around. It was a stock easy to make news about, but a lot of the news is probably a lot of BS. It's probably not necessarily stuff you care about. But anyways, guys, those are 3 secrets that I think just people don't like to talk about in the investing community for whatever reasons. I tried to explain it as clearly as I could and tried to like outline a lot of the main points there, but definitely let me know what you think in the comment section about these. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate comments in the comment section, because I'm sure a lot of you guys kind of fit into these categories and do some of these things that I was talking about, or maybe you don't do some of these things I was talking about. But definitely let me know in the comment section, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people. I feel like this is like a very easy video to get a lot of hate on, so like if there's hate in the comment sections, like that's great. I'll like gladly debate you on that. I post videos of my portfolio all the time. I significantly beat the market consistently, so definitely let me know if you want to jump into that conversation. I will gladly do so. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you're new to the channel, definitely consider subscribing. I talk about investing in the stock market, things like that. So if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, definitely head over to my channel and check it out. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching.